So if I'm correct, this concrete pad was once the settlement station, I guess is what they called it, for the Fort Wilderness Railroad. And if you look right over here, some remnants of the railroad tracks. They didn't pull the railroad ties up, they just took the rails up. I'll have to see if I can find a map of the route. But this is right by the bus loop where you would get on the bus or get off the bus for the settlement to go down to the Hoop-de-Doo Review or to the boat ramps from the campground. So it looks like there's actually two loops down here, or at least a siding or something. I don't know exactly what. Like I said, I'll try to track down the map. But right there is where we just were, by the station or the platform. And right through these trees, it's kind of hard to see, but right along in through here, there's a road bed, or what used to be a railroad road bed. You can see one of the railroad ties laying there, a piece of one, and another one right here, right here. So this must have split. I don't know which one of these lines went where, but I'll see if I can find that map and I'll include that. But most likely, I'd say the lines probably tracked along. These junction boxes probably weren't here, but they either went close to the road or through the trees there. I'm guessing probably through the trees over through this direction. So we'll see if we can follow it a little ways. Well, easy enough. The grass being manicured as it is, it's hard to follow it, but if you come along right where we were looking, there's some railroad ties laying right here by these palmetto palms or whatever they're called. So the line just went right along the road here, right between the tree and that stop sign. And I've seen maps before. I believe it crossed the road here and then stayed to the right of that garbage can, basically where the sidewalk is, and ran along the sidewalk up along the, I think it's the 300 or 400 loop where all the decorations are. Ran along the right hand side of the road until you get to what's now the dog park. We'll walk up there and take a look at it. Just walking along the sidewalk here, heading back to the 500 loop, and seems as though somebody with a pressure washer decided to leave a hidden Mickey here. I also believe, if I understand correctly, a lot of these bus shelters were stations, platforms, boarding areas for the train. The train actually, at least on this side of the park, or the campground, ran right along where the sidewalk is. One of the problems that they had with the railroad was that it crossed the campground roads, I think 7 or 8 different times, and was kind of cheaply constructed, so there wasn't a whole lot in the way of protection for pedestrians, bicyclists, and cars. And I think the death nail to the railroad was a small girl got hit on her bicycle. I don't know where, but must have been a slow speed collision, so my understanding was she was okay. But right after that incident, they closed the railroad down. Other issues that the railroad had was the locomotive only had a 200 or so gallon water tank on it. And if the crew, for some reason or another, forgot to fill the water tank after each run, each loop, each circuit, it had a low water alarm. It's a protection on steam locomotives that was mandated later after several boiler explosions, that if the water level reached a certain point, that would put out the fire and the locomotive would eventually come to a stop when it ran out of steam. And apparently that was also an incident that occurred several times. Now from where we just walked, you can see how the sidewalk makes that curve. Not quite where the crosswalk is, a little bit closer to where the diamond pedestrian sign is, was where the railroad crossing was. And the berm where these two individuals are standing and that fence rail runs across, that was the old roadbed. A little known fact, the water tower that's part of the water feature at the Meadow swimming pool at Fort Wilderness is, from my understanding, the water tower from the railroad. I don't know where the water tower was originally placed. I would think that it was probably placed down at the settlement by the depot or the platform there. But it may also have been at the shops, which I think is located at trying to think of the name of the place now, up where the parking is, the check-in. They've got a section there where the horses and stuff are, and in behind that I think is where the shops and all were located.